that will enable more without putting at risk those that look after and those that use our roads. Amen. Our roading system of 19,000 kilometres is arguably our best, our most important asset. It's our most expensive asset when it comes to capital and operational spends. It's our most important business and social well-being asset. It is a lifeline, literally. And it's an area where savings and efficiencies can and will make a significant difference to our remote farms and settlements, our everyday travel and road safety, and our spiralling rate of increasing rates. I have high hopes for this committee that we can make a difference. So let's set to, and I'll declare the meeting open. I'm deaf, and I'm trying to trial a new system, so bear with me if that system doesn't work, and I have to get you to repeat some stuff. That's my apology. Are there any other apologies? No apologies. I will move if no apologies are accepted. Are there any declarations of interest? Leave of absence? Acknowledgements and tributes? Public input and deputations? Extraordinary business, and obviously no previous meeting minutes because we have had no previous meetings and no adjourned business. So we'll get straight into the reports from the Chief Executive, page 2, report number 25279, Transport Rebuild East Coast Update. To our track man. Cheers.
Yes, so I'm Richard Bailey. I'm the NZTA Own Interface Manager for the Trek Alliance, so essentially the NZTA lead for recovery works locally on state highways. So the philosophy around the Alliance is to be locally delivered and nationally supported by the larger organisations. The Trek scope is a pretty decent chunk of that 19,000 kilometres, so it's 900 kilometres of state highway, roughly. There's also a few hundred kilometres of rail. The area spans from the Karakia in the Bay of Plenty, around both state highways, through to here in Gisborne, and then down south to the Waipukurau in the southern boundary of the Hawke's Bay. We've also got Stateway 38, Stateway 5, Stateway 50 and Stateway 51 in Hawke's Bay also. So so we're funded is just over $600 million, and our physical works is expected to be completed late 2026. Majority of our Hawke's Bay work will be completed by Christmas, with a few remnant sites around Lake Waiheke and Moana to be done over the next 6 months, and then the asphalt work at Devil's Elbow will be in the new year. Also, just going back there, the maintenance and operations sits outside of the Alliance. It was part of the Alliance for a little while, but has been moved out and is just sort of business as usual NZTA maintenance activities there. So just the overview. So the work includes slip repairs, strengthening, stabilising areas on the state highway, rock protection, protecting bridges from erosion, and a lot of drainage works. The drainage works has been a pretty big component of what we've done here. So we're sitting at about 90% complete on a number of sites. The completion rate does slow down a bit as we get in this phase because most of the small works are complete now. We've just got the larger projects and complex ones remaining. And we are about 80% of the spend is with local suppliers on the of the works being delivered on the ground. So we We have a target rate of 30% local supplier spend with a stretch target of 50%, and we're sitting at 80%. Majority of work's underway. Yeah, so we've got our big projects are listed there in Sawa 35, Hikuwai Bridge, Maungahuni Gorge, and Rauatahi, and Hakanui straight on that way too. That one, the big one. So Hikuwai Bridge, I'll just pause there for a second. Is there any questions about the actual structure of the alliance? Any members?
Just a question on, so the 80%, that'll come down significantly with these now on these major remaining.
No, it's actually increasing.
Projects.
It's increasing. So last month our spend was actually 90% local suppliers. So we have a specialist contractor doing the structural work at Hikuwai Bridge. We didn't get any local suppliers tendering on that. That was an open tender. Maungahuni Gorge, we are all local suppliers on that job. That's our largest, most complex one. So the actual proportion, we had thought that it would start dropping a bit at the end, but it's actually increasing.
What the staff, do they look into NZTA or have they got another project?
Well, essentially it's just me and from NZTA. The staff, a lot of them have their home orgs with Fulton's, Downer and Higgins as our non-owner participants in the alliance. So a lot of them will go back to their home organisations, and then there's a period with some of our, some may not, and because there's other local suppliers in there too, it's not just the big ones, we've got a whole bunch of local contractors and consultants working in there too. So at the end of the alliance, everyone essentially returns to their home organisations.
Sorry, I have a question. Could you just reiterate for me what is exactly the focus of TREC? It's recovery specific roadworks?
Yep, only on the state highway network.
On the state highway only?
Yep.
Okay.
So start with 35 Hikuwai Bridge, number one bridge. Enabling is complete. Piling was due to start this week, they just had a little issue, so that'll be early next week now. But there's a lot of activity on that site now. You'll see it pretty clear when you go across the Bailey Bridge. There's also a little bit of maintenance on that Bailey Bridge tonight as well. So there's heaps of activity there. We're expecting this one to go through to late 2026. We're not expecting too many road closures associated with this job. The road will remain open throughout. There was just a couple of tricky bits at the end when you apply the road into the new alignment, back on the other alignment, there might be a short closure. So we're 35 Maungahuni Gorge. This is our most complex job by far. We call it sort of one project, but it's actually a small program of I think there's 7 or 8 different projects through there. A lot of complex work, engineering gone into it. It's a challenging site with some pretty unforgiving conditions that the team are working through. And it's one of the first times NZTA has done river work in the way that it is on this job. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey to get to this point, but the guys are well into construction and trying to make the most of the sunny weather.
Do I have another question? I suppose it's in terms of the Maungahuni Gorge, but in general, have the engineers actually come on site to see it and not just done a desktop analysis of the design?
Yeah, so engineers had site visits throughout the design process, and we have engineers on site every day during construction. So my major focus is on the river phase work at the moment. So that's again trying to get the works done while the river's easy to work with in the summer months. So we've got 1,300 handbar units coming in that are placed to manage the riverbed level. So that the riverbed in Maungahuni Gorge fluctuates a lot. It goes up and down by about 4 metres during heavy flood events. It makes it really hard to manage structures through there because it keeps undermining the road and the sheep pole walls that have been built in the past. So the handbars will stabilise that base and remove a lot of that fluctuation in the bed level, which will help support the road in the future. The first handbars went in October, and that rough-in channel section will be complete by mid-2026.
Just a question around the bottom of the gorge where we have the Cocoa Bridge. What's the expected life of that at this stage with the amount of gravel silt that's coming down?
The silt's not so much a factor in the lifespan of the bridges. There is some work on our bridges across the whole network. I'm not sure the exact status of that one.
It's not concerning the amount of capacity under the bridge at this stage?
No, not at this stage. There's less silt in that bottom end of the gorge than there was pre-cyclone. From Tim, completion date for Hikuai Bridge. We don't have a firm date yet, but it's that late 2026 is what we're working to at the moment. Tahi, this is south of Tolaga Bay, it's over 35, so we're lifting the road by just under a metre and doing a bunch of culvert work there. It'll be stop go throughout that job, and yeah, so early 2026. It's not too big of a job. This is an area that we have a lot of road closures caused by flooding here. The flooding's not super extensive, but often we close the road because vehicles travelling at night and stuff. It always seems to be the case when the water comes up here. So this will have a really large benefit for the community up there. Less road closures. Also a big benefit for the lifelines, some of the functions as well, being able to service the coast. Hakanui Strait is a little bit similar, but a much larger scale. It's not overly complex work, but it's got a bit of scale to it. So at the moment, the water or stream diversion works have been complete. The water is now running into the new Hakanui stream bed, and the road is being lifted up by 3 metres to get above the Cyclone Gabriel level flood. So yeah, it's quite a long section of road, about 800 metres, and it's previously been called Nisbet's Dip, but with the dip sort of being taken away and the significance of the stream there, we work with Hapu to rename the site as Hakanui Strait.
During our busy Christmas New Year, a lot of traffic's going to be running through there. Is there any hope to have it fully open? Not fully open, as in no traffic management?
There'll be traffic management on the site because there's a lot of activity there.
Yeah.
So, but it will be two lanes.
It'll
be 2 lanes, but it will still have some residual traffic management.
Right. Thank you.
We'll be pushing to remove as much traffic management as possible across the whole state highway network. State Highway 2 recovery works. So this is all of the smaller sites. We've all this work south of Gisborne between here and Waiwell's complete. Stateway 2 north, we've just got 2 sites remaining. There's 3. There's 2 on Otoko Hill. Actually, there's only 1 remaining here now on Otoko Hill. Site K, it was a large slip that doesn't move very fast, but it does encroach onto the road. So there's a lot of drainage work's just been gone onto that site. A significant amount of water has already been drained out of the hillside there. And you can see there the number of other sites that have been completed over the last 2 years. The other site that is will be starting in the new year is Otoko Hill off Aram's subsidence, which is just north of Otoko Hill.
That whole area is renowned for movement. In the past, it's been like, you go 2 steps forward and then a couple of steps back when you have a significant rain event. So is all this work, is that going to stabilise that whole area, you think? Or
it's going to make a big improvement.
Yeah.
We can't sort of hand on heart guarantee stabilising these large slopes. The volumes and the forces involved are just too great. But the drainage works. We know it slows the movement down a lot.
Yeah.
We do have an example of a site that was built in the late 90s on Otoko Hill with a similar design approach. Yeah. That's remained stable since. And that was a site that gave us a lot of trouble at the time. So we expect to get similar results out of the work that we've been doing through there.
Great. It'll save a lot of money in the long term.
Yep. Yep. That's the aim of the game. Keep the road open and reduce our maintenance burden. So these are just a few photos of the works at Otoka Hill there. Before and afters. And stay by 35. So after Christmas, we do have a few of the small sites that will just be kicking off there with Maraihara, which is Hearts Tiki Tiki, Ulawa River Scour, which is just on the flats just past Tonga Bay there. Some work on the river bank, Kuporoa drainage improvements. Some of that will be delivered by Treks, most of it will be delivered outside of Trek. Parongo D9, that'll be delivered outside of Trek mostly as well. Those changes have just been made since this presentation was submitted. So Stairway 35 update. So recently completed the Makatoti dropout sites. Corporate number 2 buttress. We do a little bit more work to do there with the pavement works. That'll be done probably in the new year. All-Papi underslip, that's all complete over the Bay of Plenty now. And we've still got Tore there underway in the Bay of Plenty. Corporate slip the number 1 site. Raro Kautuku Bridge work is getting underway on the Waipu River Bridge there. Mangahuini, the main works, Hikawai, and Waipu Parongo should be sealed before Christmas. It's pretty much ready now. The Raro Kautuku Bridge revetment. So this is work underway. It's to stabilise the erosion that would happen during the cyclone. We lost a bunch of the protection barrier for the bridge abutments, got washed away. So it's replacing that with a more robust design. And we've also done some structural work on the bridge as well with some bearings reset and some cross bracing.
Sorry, can you go back one? I think that's awesome. I'm just concerned about point 4, no access to the riverhead during work in October and April. Has that been discussed with the community and is everyone on board?
Yeah. So we're working with reps on the Roro Marae there locally. There's still river access just down, I think it's Piggery Road, a few hundred metres away. So it's just immediately at the bridge.
Like around the bridge, has to be careful.
Yeah, so that area there is closed off for access, but just down the road, there's, I think it's about 300 metres away down that side road there, there's still access to the river and still access on the northern side of the bridge.
When you say closed off, what does that mean? Like how, the only thing is I'm concerned because that's our primary swimming spot and the kids jump off that side there underneath the bridge. So is it dangerous for them to do that when you guys are not working on the site? Or
under the bridge there, the area, there'll be a temporary barrier put in to keep the water out of the work site. So there won't be water in there to jump.
By choice.
Yeah, it was one of the factors in designing the scope of the works to make sure it's safe for the community. Yeah, it came up during consultation. So the big hotspots are Mangahui Gorge, Raratahi, and then pulled it over in the Bay of Plenty for Stateway 35. And we do recognise that we have a lot of sites under traffic management at the moment. And then our maintenance and operations teams also have other sites at Stateway 35. So yeah, there is a little bit of pain there with waits at some of them, but we don't really have alternatives to get the work done. So we just ask for patience.
Just a question there, you mentioned the word traffic management. The new sort of government initiatives, are you finding that's working? Are you seeing savings in traffic management in your areas?
It hasn't really changed what we're doing with the Alliance. We've been essentially working to that standard most of the way through. We knew it was coming, so we've been applying that risk-based approach to our sites anyway. The savings side isn't something that we're measuring directly. We just, because it hasn't really changed what we've been doing.
Are you monitoring the percentage cost of each operation when it comes to traffic management as a percentage of the whole cost?
Not any more than we were before. We manage all of our costs to get them down as much as possible.
Thank you.
And this page here is, so this is our public-facing GIS website. So if you go on to that link there, you can get access to the page that shows the location of all of our work sites and what the current status is. It just gives a high-level status, whether it's complete, in construction, or yet to come into construction. So yeah, it shows the rail sites as well as the road. And if you want to get in touch, you can do it through any of those channels there, through email, website, LinkedIn, Facebook, 0800 Trek number, and we also have regular newsletters that go out. If you go on the website, you can sign up to them.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. If you cast your mind back 2.5 years and remember the state of our roads coming in and out of Gisborne, it's the work that you guys have done is absolutely amazing. And you see the scale of what's going to happen with Mangahania Gorge, and we're seeing big change in resilience, and it's a good thing to see. I'm happy to move the noting of this report. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, I just
Oh, sorry.
Question. Yeah, just was just the big change really in the Forerunner Hill, where you've got these lovely asphalt sections now. Just interested in the economics of that, the decision to have those asphalt sections rather than chip seal, and whether we might expect more of that in the future.
We've got a similar bit of work to do down at Devil's Elbow. So that whole Devil's Elbow section will get the same treatment. The last real remaining site in there, Devil's Corner, we'll have that complete before Christmas. So they'll be back to 2 lanes for the first time since the cyclone. And then we'll go back and do that asphalt treatment after the new year. The reasoning behind the big one, I suppose, around that asphalt program was that we had issues with the network before the cyclone, and we had a lot of water saturated pavements that were deteriorating really quickly post-cyclone. We had extra traffic volumes because we didn't have our connection to Napier, so we managed to secure some funding to quickly go in and upgrade some of the pavements to keep on top of them, and asphalt is the fastest way to do that, and it's a bit more forgiving with weather than opening up a bit of road and getting caught in those rain cycles, and you can't close it back up in time for winter. So that was the main drive around the asphalting program, but it's made a significant improvement to service as well.
And there's a lot of concrete on the asphalt too, isn't there?
No, we do put cement stabilised pavements below asphalt, but the asphalt itself is a bitumen-based product.
Oh, okay.
Any further questions?
No, I just want to, between Gisborne and Matawai, pretty much everyone who always came and visited, you'd have those drops in the road.
Yep.
Pretty much everyone who comes through would always comment on those. I'm sure everyone here has travelled north knows them. Yeah, and that's good. They like that for forever.
Yeah, there's a couple we haven't addressed too much. It's probably been weather related more than anything, stability, but the Fareham subsidence side is one where we have further work in the new year.
All good. Well, thank you, Richard, and I move that we note the contents of this report. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Richard. Now moving on to the next paper, which is presented by Dave Hadfield and backed up by Tim Barry online, I believe. So, in your hands, thank you.
Yes, I'll take the our report as read. There was just 2 factors that came. It was on page 9. It had the cost for traffic management, and it was 175,000, but it looked like it was in 000, so it's not 175 million. It's
Oh, I see.
yeah. So that's if you come through, then you'd see that. So that was rectified at the moving through. So that, and also on page, if I can, sorry, page 15, NZTA have now approved the funding for the school program, but it's the total cost that I'm back with is 305. So that's the latest update I've got.
All right.
Through the chair.
Mr. Councillor Telford.
Just a bit more clarification on that, on those figures there, Dave, that you remembered. That NLTP, year to date,
Yes.
is the
Our National Land Transport Program. So that's what the roading program for the 3 year.
so year to date. Is that saying there's only been 175,000 spent?
on for council roading component. So this is where it was getting a little bit confusing with other we have this roading efficiency group that we attend, and some we just wanted to make clear: is it just the roading parts? And they said yes, that's all we have to report on. So it excludes things like utilities, like you might see the Three Waters teams, you might see Electronet, you might see other within traffic management. That excludes that part, and also and it's just on our base program, our BAU program. So it excludes the recovery side as well. So that's what we asked. So they wanted to measure like for like, and they said everyone's got different things. They said, can we just keep it to your business as usual program, if that makes sense.
So that's still saying
It's 175.
175, which seems quite a low number to me.
Yeah.
But so this is just still saying that the traffic management cost percentage of that is still 33%.
Yes, absolutely. That's
which really surprises me because we've been probably been a bit of a pain on it, banging on for the last few years about this the percentage of traffic management. And I remember when I first brought it up a few years ago, the figure I used was this is costing us 33%. And here we are now, so many years down the track, when we've had different recommendations that it's been looked at and everything, and our percentage is still no different, which really surprises me. Is there any clarification for that?
Well, I think that's also everyone's across the country is putting in different information. So, and that's just going to be more and more refinement. So that's what's happening. So the team totally understand the implication of costs of traffic management. It's just making sure we're reporting to what the minister wants, and there was some of the clarity just wasn't sure, and that's why they were getting vast different figures across the
You're right there, Rob. So I'd like to add to this. No, after you.
I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, like it becomes confusing if we aren't using apples with apples. Like originally we were looking at the total costs wrapped into the roading side of it. 33% was the figure. Now we're here at this point in time. It's not the total figure, but it's still the same percentage. And I'm just querying whether we're actually doing what we can really do. I think we've got a lot of work to do going forward around the way we are doing work. I hope having this committee totally focused on this will help, but I think we need to really start to look at efficiencies, and we don't do some.
Am I right in saying, and Nadine, if you could comment in here, if it's necessary, but this new committee, I know we haven't really got terms of reference fully set up. We haven't. It's a very light document. We don't really know quite where our parameters are going to lie. And so I like to think this is just the first block. And we're going to start setting blocks alongside it, and we're going to set up the sort of information that we think we need to help make better decisions further down the track. And, I think reporting stuff like traffic management percentages is going to help us in some way influence our spend as best we can without stepping over that line of operations, which I'm very good at leaning on, Dave.
I get it.
You asked,
Did you want
you
me to
asked the
respond?
CEO for
So do you want to respond? Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, that is correct. So we're developing up the terms of reference for the committees that will come to council in December. But part of this initial meeting is to see the lay of the land, what's happening in the local roading space first, and then you will be working, the chair will also be working with Tim to set up that governance work program, so we're really clear on what the committee wants to look at alongside the strategic network review process that needs to be implemented to have some oversight of that. That's a big piece of work for the committee to get stuck into as well.
Thank you, CE. I'd just like to use my age and wisdom. There's only one that's slightly older than me. And remembering back to the old days of traffic management, where there'd be a sign out there with a man at work with a 30 Ks up on it, and that sign could be up for weeks after the job was done. And I personally complained to the council on occasions and to the operators of the day, saying remove your signs, because what they're doing is they're dumbing us down. We would see a sign, you knew there was no one working there, and so you tended to start ignoring signs. This was before the days of cones. We now have cones, and they're left out there, and we get this similar numbness, I think, happening. Can I finish?
Sure.
I'm not saying that traffic management is in any way unnecessary. It is a very important part of what we do when we come to fixing a road. However, the public impression out there is that it's got overcosted and perhaps overly influenced. I've had 2 phone calls this week from farmers on dead-end roads where they have 1 or 2 houses at the end of those roads, and they have had traffic management that has included 2 operators and traffic lights. And what they see is their roading budget being chewed up by what they believe is an unnecessary cost. And now we are faced with not balancing our roading budget and having to retract our level of service. And when we're going to be we're going to have to deal with some of these guys in the future and say, we're not going to be fixing your roads to the same level. And they're asking these questions, why are you wasting it then? That's what I'm getting. So there's a balance. The balance is the cost benefit of traffic management and its health and safety versus having poor roads and poor road maintenance because of lack of funds and the road users' health and safety. And I see we have to be part of that balance. Councillor Parata, you're looking concerned.
Yeah, I am concerned. I'm concerned that we're sort of really talking out of turn at this point. None of us at this table, as far as I'm aware, is an engineer, is a machine operator, is a traffic management specialist. Unless I'm wrong. If you are, can you put your hand up now? So I'm deeply concerned that we're making comments about what is or is not appropriate in terms of the safety and compliance of our roading operations. I'm deeply concerned about that. I can understand we're talking about efficiencies, but to point out specific places where whānau think that this could be less, they too are not specialists in roading operations. I just want us to be really careful, and as chair, I think it's important that you set the tone for what is our lane and what is not our lane. We can definitely question it, but time and time again, our operational staff have told us that they're making efficiencies, that they are trying to be compliant, that there are rules in terms of monitoring. And as sorry, I can't remember his name, Richard, as Richard has just rightly pointed out, that there are so many sites, both Trek, NZTA and council itself, on the State Highway 35 and State Highway 2. It is dangerous. Our road, while it's being repaired, is dangerous. It requires traffic management. It requires cones. It requires signage.
I'm not denying that.
I'm not finished. And so I think it's important that we stay in our lane and supportive of the mahi that council do and be led by the experts here. I think it's absolutely appropriate that we make comments and questions, but we have to be really careful about undermining the work of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parada. I acknowledge what you're saying, and all I'm saying is we need to check every avenue where our money is being spent, and to ensure that it's being spent efficiently. And from this committee, I hope to see figures to give us confidence that it is being spent efficiently. That's all I'm saying.
Supplementary is that we're being provided that on a regular basis. Could it continues to be better and it continues to be improved, but constantly undermining the decisions being made by our operational staff is unhelpful, is the point that I'm trying to make.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Nadine, thank you.
Sorry, and through the chair, just in terms of the financial commitments, that conversation will be had in the Finance and Performance Committee meeting.
Thank you. And it also has audit and risk ramifications as well. But this is where I see this committee as a rubber hitting the road area. So, Tim Berry.
Yeah. Thank you. If you can hear me, in reflection of what's just been spoken about, we would like to offer at the next committee perhaps an anatomy of how that TTM is calculated, a worked example, for instance, to provide this board an understanding of what builds up the numbers. And when Dave and the Road Efficiency Group and the national reporting structure is confident that it is apples for apples around the country, we would like to present not only our figure in isolation, but also beside other potentially comparable jurisdictions. And then we've got some context on the numbers. Without that, I think you end up with a figure and little context around it, a figure in isolation. So that's what we'd like to offer, I think, to help that broader understanding of this committee and how we put those, how we're asked to put those numbers, how we calculate them. This is what it looks like, and that's why the number is that. And we can lift everyone's understanding a wee bit, if that's acceptable.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Moving forward, we've got more.
Sorry.
Oh,
No?
you finish.
No, I was willing to take any questions.
Yes. Just in terms of the rehabs on page 12, mentioned there, when Tarewa Road, which is a road at the end of Wainaki, goes through the Karakia Road, the state highway, was handed over to forestry. My understanding was meant to use the state highway and not go down Wainaki Road, because Wainaki Road's been widened and the pavement's thin and it can't handle those trucks, so it's falling apart quicker than you can repair it, and millions and millions on that road. First question is Tarewa Road still open all the way through to the state highway?
Yes, it is, and the forest, what they do also is efficiencies. If it gets too difficult in the wet to go through Tarewa Road, they flip and come onto Wainaki Road because it's easy to come out. And so we do have an agreement with the forestry company to do that, but it depends where they harvest. And trucks are like water; they take the fastest route out to the port, and that's just the way they operate.
Wainaki Road, we've spent millions on there in the past, right or wrong reasons there. Would we look at, so it seems just like in terms of our operational budget and how much I realise it's the Waterworks Road and how much we spent on there. Surely this is a perfect example for repairing the road.
That's something we'd like to come back to the committee.
It was mentioned years and years ago, and we we still seem to be pouring more and more money fixing the seawall. And what I'm saying is, can we make a decision to? It just seems like it's a bottomless pit, this road, because of our look at the pavement there. And for me, it's a perfect example of a road that should be reviewed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just through the chair, the last, we presented to council a list of roads that potentially could be reverted, but we could, instead of looking at isolation, we need to come back to the committee just to say what do you think instead of that, because there's pluses and minuses. Like if you revert a road, you might be saving money in terms of it becomes, it's gravel, but if that quarry is 50 k's away, you get additional cost to cart it to there. So there's just got to be some rationale of how to do it. Not saying. Because you're right, the vehicles, four-wheel drive vehicles can go on and but we just need to have some, probably need to see the whole list instead of us going forward. Well, I don't disagree.
Do we move that process forward? Because I know it's been talked about years and years ago, and we're still at the stage. Progress that process.
So Dave, on that, what pressure can we put on forestry trucks to take a particular route?
That's why we get paid. The government pays us a far, and that's the quid pro quo. You take, and the anticipation is that any vehicle can use the road. Right. Okay, so some councils do use weather restrictions during, winter, but unless you have a specific bylaw, we're funded for vehicles or any industry to use a road.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Working through. Any other questions?
Page 15 mentions Wheatstone Road, 250k. Questions are, what are we actually doing here? The history here, and emphasise speaking to the residents. I think it was simple for us. Once the residents there, having any works happening there, and also is it getting tendered out?
Just can you speak up? People are texting me saying they can't hear you online.
Yeah, just through the chair, just with the Wheatstone Road project, it hasn't started. So once we finish Tofuri Paro Road, the 9.4 resources will start coming there. So we've got 18 months to come up with a solution, because that's the 3-year funding phase for us to complete. But there's been no investigation at this stage. So, but when the project, when that person finishes at Tofuri, that's one of their next jobs to come back. And also we'll talk to the residents there.
So you've got a 250k figure there, you've given us a number, but you're saying there's been no investigation. So how have you got a 250k number with no investigation?
Yeah, I was trying to keep the costs down, and we know that it's drainage related. We took some estimates from some of our existing budgets and contract rates that what we in terms of putting culverts along there. So that's the figure that we've come to. So we're trying to get the balance, because once you get more designers in, you start to get into anywhere between 12 to 20% of the cost. So we're trying to manage that one in house.
Dave, I've got a couple of questions on that page. First one's the Tokomara seawall, and we have a budget figure. How sensible is it to publish a budgeted figure before receiving tenders?
Yeah.
Are we not putting out great expectations on what we're prepared to spend?
That's a discussion around the country. If you want to, you can actually ask for. You can go for a Lagoima and ask for the prices. They're actually, it's there in the public. And what we're also finding too is some of our contractors are getting good smart. They're just using ChatGPT, and anything in the public domain that comes through, they're going, oh, that's the estimate there. And so it's better to be up front. But it also gives some expectations if they think, if they're pricing too high, then so there's arguments both ways.
Both ways. And then my next question is around the design engineering of a job. Is that job tendered as well? Or do we have go-to designer engineers?
Yeah, we have through the NZTA and our procurement strategy, which is on the website at Gutley. So we have a transport panel, and that includes four designers. It's WSP, GHD, LDE, and Stanford. And NZTA have said that went through a tender process, and then we can just deliver that work through them. And it's and we were fortunate because that was assisted with the recovery program, because we had a set of designers there ready to go.
I think on page 16, economic corridors, I see where they're working with forestry, council's partnering with forestry on Waimata Valley Road, and I'm just asking if, and it says if the outcomes were successful, it could be templated to other areas of the district. Has this actually started? Has it been progressed, or whereabouts are we on this?
Yeah, look, I mean, Tim will probably jump in as well, but we've had a meeting with the forest companies and also the local residents up there, and we've just said, and we're coming up with a program of works. But the idea is then, and that includes the port, and there's the discussion about whether this project can be funded outside of rates. Yeah. So first of all, we're looking at what program works the forestry need to open up that catchment. But the feedback we got was that it's a $45 million a year economic corridor. But if we could raise, in terms of minimise the road closures, it potentially could be $55 to $60 million corridor per year. Right. So that's But the tension, and that's what Tim's been saying to the industry, is there's pressure on rates, there's pressure from NZTA. This can't all be just funded. And what's a fair way of trying to distribute those costs? So it's easy to come up with a work program, but it's the who pays, and that's Tim's working.
So is it just monetary, or is it are they providing trucks and their roading? Because they've got their own roading teams and everything like that. So are they providing that service as well to the project, or is it just monetary?
They're offering the services. They're offering the services, but it's always going to get at the moment. I believe the expectation is it gets funded from a different party. Our conversation is understand, but it needs to be something outside of rates and things like that. So that's where it's at. So
when will you know the success of it or not?
There's a part of the project that's sitting with us where, with my team, is that we are working with Cube in terms of the truck. We know there's 750,000 tonnes that's coming out of that catchment. And so what we're doing is working through a program of what would actually open it up a bit more. There's a couple of constraints on it. Right. We're pricing that up and then coming back with what's necessary, what's desirable, what would you like if And so the tension is, if you think that another party's going to pay for it, you'll ask for that. But if you're asked to contribute or pay, then your mindset will come back to what we really need. Yeah. And so our job is to give them so we've gone through the network, we've gone through that. And it's also, we know if forestry want to go during winter, because that's where it causes much more damage on the networks. Yeah. How are we going to fund that? So we'll get the program by Christmas, and then we'll give it to the next stage. We have to go back to forestry.
Right. And so the other question is that all that wood from Waimata Valley Road is coming down Ormond Road.
Yes.
Is it? I mean, then back in I remember quite a long time ago there was conversations of taking it to the King Road and back onto State Highway along Arawhini Road. Has that ever been progressed, or is that just a dead duck?
No, and so this is where we'll start playing past the ball, and this is where that'll be referred to the Regional Transport Committee, and there's Tina and Jocelyn had a report, that's the strategic stuff, and then I know there's funding, Tina and the team have put a funding request to NZTA for that, and those discussions we had at the regional, that strategic stuff will be held.
It's a long time. I mean, I'm talking probably 5 years ago now.
2022 is when that goes.
And I'm sorry, I'm probably speaking out of turn. It should have been directed to Jocelyn. Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair. You know, answer that. Can you hear?
As loud as you can.
Okay. It's a request that we've had to NZTA because the preferred route is on State Highway 35 and State Highway 2, so it's the network. And the things, I think when we did the consultation, we identified there were safety issues that we needed them to improve it before we could put all the trucks on it. Yeah. So that's been in all the iterations have been that request to put that in their ship, and the advice that comes back is they need more planning. And so the transport modelling is what we need to do along that corridor, and that's what we're just talking to investment advisors about at the moment, about how we get that underway and what we can do to get that funding.
Okay, so it's still an option.
Through the chair, Tina, that preferred crossing is Harper Road, not King Road, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Harper Road is the main. I think that there's an option between Back Ormond Road and Harper Road, but to get back onto State Highway 2, they still have to traverse the network.
Yes, Mr. Berry.
Yeah, thank you. I just thought I'd add a bit more context to the original question related to the economic route. So the initial engagement was actually made by Forestry, who came to us. Their interest is in getting more certainty out of their routes for more times of the year. So part of this approach is to demonstrate, well, this is what it looks like. We'd love to cooperate in this area. This is what this is a sort of what it breaks down to in terms of a tariff or something that could even be seasonal at the port or something similar. The other thing worth mentioning is Waimata-Hokoroa economic corridor accounts for something between 20 and 25% of the tonnage that actually leaves the port. So it's relatively sustainable for the next 15 years. So it's a really big contributor to the economy, and because we have the benefit of most of our exports going through the port, there might be a small percentage that don't, but actually really it's everything's going to the port. It's very easy, I would say, to have discipline around the whole process. The intent is not to rip anyone off at any level. The intent is actually to be very open and transparent. With respect to contractors, we want dual use contractors who can work in the forestry area because they're there, as well as meet all our road corridor needs. So there's sensitivities there as well. But just stressing the point, this was an initiative and requested by Forestry. Where there's going to be challenges is how potential capital uplifts in the roading that will be identified by Christmas are funded, because if a debt model is used, we'd need guarantees and other features. So yeah, quite a few things to work out, but it's exciting to be engaging at this level, and we're not underestimating the challenges of getting final agreements in place. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Any more questions? We're getting close to the end. Oh, yes.
I just want to know that these will have dropped way down the priority list, but just wondering the intention a while back to put roundabouts on Aberdeen Road, Stanley Road, and Aberdeen Road, Lytton Road. Is that still planned at some stage in the near future?
Yeah, at the moment, no, it's just been put on hold because that got once the government GPS, and basically that money that was put aside for safety and we got low cost was all put on hold. It was part of the walking cycle. It was all into that safety, and it was reallocated to other areas. And so once the new GPS comes out, we'll know when there's going to be funding for that type of improvements.
Yes, the top of that page, stakeholder engagement. Those 6 points I see as are going to be a large part of our work over the coming times, and each one of those is going to get bigger and bigger in vision and how we're going to tackle them. Also under that, economic corridors, point 3, a long list of available financial tools, which is what I think Tim Barry was alluding to. And, you know, this is where this committee, we've got to get inventive and look at opportunities where we can incentivise better operations and all of us saving money and getting a better result. And I think, you know, through those areas there's opportunity there. Anything else on the last page? The risks, I totally acknowledge point 2 under risks, health and safety, Councillor Parata, and that although I am suggesting we need to make savings here, the last thing I want to see is anyone hurt. And with that top of mind, and must be as always, because Nadine, our CE's head, is on the block on that one, so I acknowledge that 100%. Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, I'm just there's been a few comments made through the presentations about the damage to the network when we have wet weather and whatnot, and forestry companies wanting to use these roads in the middle of winter when we've got a real wet period. And the repercussions of all this is that there's never enough money, and the only way to get the roads better is increase rates. And I'm wondering whether there's a win-win for both the forestry industry and the ratepayers. Is we've got a thing, and Tim just mentioned it before, where we've got basically 95% or more of our logs are going to the port. Every log that comes into that port is organised through dispatch. They can swing very quickly on where those trucks go. And I think that's a conversation maybe needs to be had with the Eastern Wood Council and the port around, you know, if we can limit the damage on some of those roads, and if they have to take trucks off those roads for 4 days, 3 days, that sort of dries out of it, and they can pivot just like that, and it can be done through dispatch with a very nimble system. There's huge wins for everybody in that. So I think that's maybe one area that we can, maybe hasn't been looked at enough. It may have been, but I think that's an area we could actually, because if you can remove some of the huge volume of trucks off those roads for 3 or 4 days, most of these skid sites have got the ability to hold logs for a maybe well worthwhile having.
Thank you. Councillor Parata.
Thank you. Just maybe a comment or a suggestion that when projects, ideas, updates, when they make their way to their table, along with the financial justification for where things have gone, it might be worth also giving us an explanation of the challenges that that particular site faces to give context for why it is so expensive. So what looks like a pothole might not just be a pothole. Underneath might be slipping, the land might be slipping, and that's why it's so expensive. I know that so often, and whānau watching this will know how often we look out at the road and think, oh, pour concrete in it. That's all it needs. If it was that easy, we would be doing it. So what I suggest is so that these conversations can be a little bit more informed, if we can have some context as to what are the challenges and difficulties, especially when a specific site looks like it's an easy, simple issue and is more complex underneath. I think that will offer us as a governance group better insight into the decisions that our operational staff are making, why they're making it, and that will help us learn more going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Parata. I agree, and you've reminded me of a point on page 8 that I meant to make on potholes. And the numbers there that it would be good to see a bit more clarity there in that 80 potholes have been found by road users and 865 by RCA contractors. And the time for reporting is 1 hour. Well, my guess is that most of the time for reporting and recording for the 1 hour is the contractor reported ones, not the public reported ones. Also, this 40% that do not comply with the time to fix, there's some huge gains to be made there. Like it is well known that a small pothole will grow quickly, and the cost of it goes up at the same rate as the size of the pothole. So if we can get those potholes done when they're small, it's got to save us money. It's got to be, you know, that's where we can make some real changes. Don't let the water get under the road. Keep it on top. Any other questions? All right, so this is again is a noting report. Would someone like to move the... Thank you. And seconded, Telfer. Thank you. There being no further business, I'll declare the meeting closed.
All in favour?
Thank you.